So the thing is with I'm praying for you is that it does have certain advantages. For instance, it fills an awkward pause. It makes you feel better just to say it. It makes you sound caring. And you don't actually have to do anything. You just say it, and they don't know. They don't know if you ever actually pray for them. So, it might or might not make the other person feel better. So another email that I've received quite a bit is from new atheists who say, you know, in these tricky situations where you feel really helpless, like when somebody tells you that a parent is dying or, you know, some other terrible calamity has happened to them, and you're completely helpless. What can you do about it? And they used to say, I'm praying for you, and they wonder what they can say now. So the thing is that there is a disadvantage of I'm praying for you, in that it doesn't actually do anything. But you can come up with some good atheistic responses that do actually do things. You can say, I'm so sorry, or I'm here for you, which are pretty much the same as I'm praying for you. You can actually ask, is there anything I can do for you? You can offer them cupcakes shaped like Cookie Monster. There's always help. Or you could offer them a hug. You could share a memory of the person if it's someone who's died. You could donate money to a cause or to them if they need it. You can donate time. There are plenty of good atheistic ways to help people out that don't require prayer. So that's that one. Number three, movie number 3 is called The Wish. And for this one, we needed a child. And we're very lucky because my friend Jon Ronson actually offered to help us out. Jon, if you don't know, is an author living in London. He's brilliant. He's written a number of great books, including The Men Who Stare at Goats. So if you've seen The Men Who Stare at Goats, the movie, you might know him more like this. But Jon is wonderful, and Jon has a son named Joel. And if you, I don't know if you listened to one of my other podcasts, Little Adams, but we were at TAM London last year doing interviews with speakers. And Joel was there backstage, so we decided that we would interview Joel. And I said, Joel, you know, are you having a good time at the conference this weekend? And he said, well, we only just got here, but so far it's really great. I really like it. And I said, well, who are you most wanting to meet? And he goes, David Bowie. I'm like, okay. And he goes, or John Lennon if he wasn't dead. So Joel is pure gold. And also I told him that the acting he was going to be doing would be shown at an atheist conference. And I told him I was a bit nervous because I didn't really know what to say about atheism. And I asked him what he thought. And he goes, oh, there's no such thing as a God. It's just like 2,000 years ago, some guy writing on Wikipedia that UFOs exist, and then everybody believes it. Like, yeah, no, that's really good. I'm going to use that. I wasn't going to credit him, but... so here we go with The Wish.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Joel. Happy birthday to you.
Joel, make a wish.
Encouraging your children to believe in magical wish fulfillment. It's just another form of religious indoctrination. Don't you think, John?
Why do you have to be such a dick?
Birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Joel. Happy birthday to you.
Joel, make a wish.
Yay! Make it a good one.
I wish for an army of minions to worship me as a god.
Joel is pretty much walking comedy gold. there's really not a bad move. So I don't actually expect anyone to really say that at a children's birthday party. But it does lead us into talking about how we address myths with children. And we get this email so much. November through December, this is probably the most common email I get. My children believe in Santa, and at this point, I'm happy to let them enjoy this fantasy, as I do think that some moral lessons of giving and appreciation can come out of it. But I began wondering what you all do about the Christmas conundrum. If you really are skeptics to the core, will you allow your children to believe? Do you actively participate in keeping the myth alive? So I think it's a really good question. Obviously, it's a good question, and it's been on the minds of pretty much every parent in our audience. And first I want to talk about what this particular emailer calls out as the moral lessons of Santa. Because I don't quite agree. Because what Santa teaches us in general is that if you're good, you get toys, but only if you sit on the lap of a creepy, old, strange man. And you don't get anything if you're bad or if you're poor. Again, not really the best lesson, but I think that the worst lesson we learn from Santa is that the only point of behaving is to satisfy a distant yet omniscient being who will decide at a later date whether or not you deserve to be rewarded or punished. Does that sound familiar? And so it surprises me that a skeptic in our audience would make an appeal like this to some basically faulty logic about where humans get their morality, and to decide that children need some distant sky daddy watching their every move, because it doesn't really even work. When I have two older brothers, and when we were kids, there was maybe the week before Christmas when I didn't get beat up, and that was nice. But how quickly they forget the all-powerful, all-seeing eye of Santa Claus. So I'm not that sold on the moral teachings, but that's not to say that I don't think we should tell kids about Santa. My podcast co-hosts actually have children, so can speak with some authority on the subject. And I know that they tend to ascribe to this philosophy of not lying to their kids ever. So they don't tell them that Santa exists. The kids learn it from their friends and whatnot. But they encourage their kids to ask them questions, and they won't lie. So if the kid asks, is there such a thing as a Santa? They'll come out and they'll say, well, what do you think? Probably not. Which I think is a perfectly good way to raise your kid, if that's what you want to do. However, I do want to make a case for Santa. Because I grew up believing in Santa Claus, and pretty much everybody I know grew up believing in Santa Claus. And I think that believing in things when you're a kid really helps you develop your imagination. I believed in everything when I was a kid. I believed in mermaids and ghosts and goblins and, and Santa Claus and Easter Bunny. And eventually I learned that those things weren't real. But in the meanwhile, it really helped me work on a good imagination, of coming up with stories, of imagining possibilities. And Carl Sagan points out that, imagination is actually crucial to being a good scientist. You really need it in order to go anywhere. So I think Santa's good on that level. And I also think that Santa's good because, speaking personally, when I first learned that there wasn't any such person as Santa that was sneaking into my house to give me presents, it was a huge realization for me. I realized that parents can lie and that you can't trust adults. And I think that that's just as important a message as teaching them skepticism. That will instantly make them skeptics. And, so with that in mind, I plan to lie to my kids nonstop about everything. And I'll let their poor father sort of work it all out in the end. Although I'm going to go a step further than Santa. I'm not just going to tell them that Santa exists. I'm actually going to tell them that the Icelandic Santas exist. And I don't know if you're familiar with the Icelandic myths. I learned about it during a brief stopover in Iceland last year. And I did say Santas, plural, because in Iceland, there are 13 Santas, and they're all crazy. They're really horrible people. In fact, I'm just going to read directly from Wikipedia on this note. They used to be called Yule Lads. And early on, their number and depictions varied greatly depending on location, with each individual lad ranging from mere pranksters to homicidal monsters who eat children. How much better is that than stupid Santa? And each of the 13 does something different. Like there's Skyr Gobbler, who eats your yogurt. There's Sheepcoat Clod, who harasses your sheep, but he's impaired by his stiff peg legs. There's Window Peeper, which is pretty self-explanatory, pervert. And to me, the most terrifying one of all is the Spoon Licker, who steals your wooden spoons and licks them. Pervert. I think that that's what we're seeing here. I don't know. I just did a Google image search for Icelandic Santa Claus, and that was the second image that came up. This was the first. Slightly more terrifying. I think the best part of the myth is, this is also directly from Wikipedia, the Yule Lads are often depicted with the Yuletide cat, a beast that, according to folklore, eats children that don't receive new clothes in time for Christmas. How great would that be? Honey, it's Christmas Eve, go put on your new pajamas. Oh, you don't have any? Oh, but the stores are shut. Ooh. It's okay, it's just a cat. I'm sure it's fine. It's fine. I'm gonna be the best mom ever. Adam and I, and I forgot to mention that Adam was the dick in the last movie, so that was his screen debut. Adam and I wanted to film one more scene because 4 is a nice round number. Originally, we really wanted to do a sex scene where one partner is yelling out, "Oh God, oh God, oh God," and then the other one says something horrible, and you know. But we couldn't convince anyone to hop into bed and let us film it. Weird. And in fact, the one we finally ended up doing, we couldn't convince anyone who hadn't already appeared in it to come out at the last minute and be in this one. So I'm quite horrified to say that I'm in the next one. And I can't even watch it, but I threw in a picture of Björk to imagine what my future Icelandic children might look like. I assume that that's the product of telling them about Icelandic Santa Claus. Here we go with the fourth movie, which is going to seem quite remarkable to you, but I assure you that it is in fact based on an actual problem that someone actually had.